You are live.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There we go. Yay! All right. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody, and welcome to a holiday episode of the Mile High Roundtable. Today's episode, we'll be talking about the Broncos' victory over the Dolphins, discussing the Saints game, and covering all of your Denver Broncos news. Yay, we won!
What was that?
I don't know. The only thing I could think of. All right, welcome back, everybody. We are live on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Twitch, which I got logged into and figured out.
Finally.
On YouTube, you can give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Twitter, check us out at MHRT Podcast. Leave us questions, comments, concerns. Facebook, like and follow. And I don't think there's much to do on Twitch. Just watch. I think that's about it.
They're starting to become they dip their toe into the whole podcast pool.
Yeah, they do a lot of like game streaming and things like that. I'm not. Yeah. I can hang with the 9-year-olds on NFL Madden. That's about it. That's barely.
It's a pro sport.
He said hang.
He
didn't even say beat. He said hang.
No, I said hang with. there's no victory for me in my house. All right, so
ain't that the truth?
The Miami game.
Yay.
That was a little bit of a different game than what I was expecting to see. At the second throw of the game, I was expecting that. But the rest of it was different. It was interesting. It was good. Stu McPeak saying hi, y'all. Steve Griffith, what's up? Thanks for joining us,
guys. Thank you.
So what were your initial thoughts on the Miami game?
Pretty much what you just said. The first drive, I'm telling you, I almost wanted to take off my jersey and fold it because I felt like it was going to be that kind of day. But thankfully, I kept hope alive, even though it wasn't easy. But basically, this was more of a Vic Fangio needed win than it was a Drew Lock win, because Vic Fangio's name was being thrown around going into this game because people thought he was starting to lose the locker room, that maybe he wasn't pushing Drew Lock in the right direction. Same thing with the offensive coordinator. So this game was exactly the type of game that they needed to go out there and say, hey, we're not done yet. We're not finished. We can still go out there and we can go toe-to-toe with any up-and-coming team, whether it's the Dolphins or the Saints or the Chiefs. So the fact that the defense went out there and just played their hearts out was fantastic. Drew Lock played a pretty clean game after that interception. He kept the ball in his receiver's hands. He didn't have any passing touchdowns, unfortunately, but he didn't turn the ball over. And when the Broncos got a lead, they were actually able to keep it. So it was positives all the way around.
I agree.
Chris Hernandez digging the backward tackle, and he's growing a beard. That's the biggest news of the week right there.
Yeah.
Well, only one to go. Only one of us has to go.
It's a slow week.
Christy, when you growing your beard?
You never know, right? Not today, though.
So, initial thoughts when at the start of the game when Drew could not get a completion, and then he gets the interception, and then he throws a couple more incompletions. He was so tight, and then they zoomed in on his face, and he drops an expletive because the pressure was really getting to him. Mm-hmm. So thank goodness for the Hamler reception first down. It seemed like things kind of freed up for him once he got a reception under his belt. Mm-hmm. But really, the key on the offense for this team was the running game, and incorporating it actually into the game plan. It was it was something else.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was big, and of course, Adon mentioned the defense, and I mean they were unbelievable. So
Yeah. And the running game, I mean, they weren't really doing anything special. I mean, they changed it up a bit, but I mean, as far as Miami's defense, I mean, I think they were just having a bad day. I mean, they kind of went backwards because our offense wasn't doing anything particularly hard for them to cover. They just couldn't gain any traction. So,
Well, they were having Reisner and Bowles pull to the left.
right.
So that was one of the differences, but
Right.
It was a big
I
improvement
don't-
for
It
Sherman.
helped because
Yeah.
they were getting 10 yards, whereas the last game they were only getting 3, or they were going backwards, or they were getting 1. So
Mhm.
that definitely that helped.
Yeah.
the Broncos
and-
put out a clip the other day, and it was showing Reisner and Bowles just blowing up one of the guys, and literally
Yeah, putting him on his
edited it to where
behind.
The guy
I
disintegrated.
saw that.
Yeah.
That was
This
great.
is exactly what we wanted to see from Pat Shermer, but unfortunately, it took 11 weeks out of the season to see it. So hopefully, we're starting to see what we saw last year in Scangarello. You know, where Scangarello started to get his ideas into motion, and we don't have to worry about who's our starting quarterback from compared to last year, but the fact that he was able to make that type of change and using his tackles in Garrett Bowles and DeMar Dotson to run and block, just it speaks a lot because it takes the pressure off of Drew Lock, and that's something that unfortunately I believe led to the 4-pick disaster in Las Vegas because it just felt that Drew Lock just had to throw the ball because there was no trust in the running game. So when you can have a consistent running game like that, and hopefully praying that Melvin Gordon doesn't cough up the ball anymore. So if the Broncos can just stay consistently running the ball and keep confusing the defense, then we have something here.
Yeah.
well, and it sucks that it took so long for us to get to this point. But Glenn and I were talking right before we came on. The reason that I believe that they went with the offense the way that they had it in the last game was because the coaching staff didn't trust Locke. And you can see that by how they had Rippon splitting snaps with Locke throughout the week. They didn't commit to him until Friday. Because, I mean, if you look at it, if a starting quarterback in the NFL gets hurt and goes out in the middle of the game and they got a backup come in, what game plan do they put out there with the backup? Heavy running, moving the line, strong defense, short to medium throws, which is exactly what they did in the last game. So I think I like that they took the responsibility off of Locke. It wasn't Locke, you have to go out there and win the game. It was you go out there and don't lose the game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to sit here and say that he was vastly improved. I just think a lot of it was a lot of the decision making was taking off of his plate. He just had to hit one read and go. Short passes, he was taking what they gave him. Which I will always take a win over anything. But like I was telling Glenn, if they continue to play that offense and he doesn't progress, that's a problem.
Yes.
But if they play the offense and they can gradually add on more and he's progressing through it, cool, we're done.
Right.
I think it's he's going to have to earn that trust back, and he's not going to win it back in 1, 2, 3 games. It's going to take the rest of the season in order for him to earn the trust back that he lost through those first 8 games.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this was a good step as long as he can progress and not stay the same where he's at.
Right. And I think maybe this could be what he needed all along, was just little baby steps in order to get better, to, progress. And if they keep doing these little baby steps, stepping forward a little bit at a time, then, maybe he just needed the extra time and patience to actually learn and do better.
Yeah,
Because he definitely was. I'm not going to say this was a stellar Drew Lock, but he definitely had a better game, whether that's confidence or just, The play calling was short, easy. It was just definitely a better game for him.
This was like game manager Drew Lock and not
Right.
rocket arm ball in the everywhere. So
Right. And they took away some of the things. So maybe it was he had too much, on his plate to manage on the field, and it was overwhelming for him. So they took away a few of the X's and O's, and he was able to manage it better. And you could definitely see that happened. So
right, and that's what I'm saying. Like if he can progress and they can start adding that stuff back on there,
right.
That's fine because with Locke we didn't draft a game manager. We drafted one of those guys that can go out and sling the ball like a Brett Favre or something like that. So
Right.
A gunslinger. So if he can progress, awesome. Then we don't need to worry about drafting a quarterback, anything like that. If he even if he stays the same and he's just a good game manager, I don't necessarily think they go and get a quarterback unless one falls to him. But if he, I think if he stays the same or gets worse, within the next year or two, we'll probably end up getting another quarterback. But I'm hoping that with the responsibility off of him to win the game, they can let him progress at his own pace and not just throw him in there like they have been, which it's kind of annoying that he wasn't able to pick it up that fast and just go. But I mean, from this point on, he doesn't really have any more excuse. Like they can't dumb it down anymore. This is the bottom of where the offense can go. If you can't pick it up from this point, there's not a whole lot else we could do.
You know what's interesting that came to light this week is that Shermer is now upstairs. I guess it started with the Patriots game, but it kind of made the news this week. And Vic has always thought, I guess he's urged him, but didn't mandate it. And when they asked Drew about him being upstairs, Drew's like, it's almost like a video game, when the guy, when the coach is up top,
right?
Exactly.
Everything. And he said, it's the way to go. But
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say it was another interesting thing was Phil Milani from Broncos Media was interviewing Elway this week. And Elway was asked about Drew, and he was saying, how resilient he is and his resiliency and such. And when that was, but he also said, the mistakes are still, they're essentially that they're not happy with the mistakes. But it was the resiliency part that they asked Drew about, and he said, it's nice when someone like Elway, someone who's your boss, says that. He goes, but I'd like him to be able to be asked about how we put together 4 quarters of great football and beat another, good team instead of that the quarterback was resilient because he was making mistakes. And I just thought that for Drew to actually point that out, I thought was pretty, was a nice step as well.
Well, and do we know if Fangio had any more say in the offense this week? I mean, is that because it other than like dumbing down the offense to the basics, there had to be some other reason as to why all of a sudden that happened. Like, you can't think the Shermer's going to be dumb enough to be like, yep, let's switch to this now. There had to have been, whether it's Fangio coming in or Elway coming down or somebody saying something to somebody as to why they all of a sudden made the switch.
I think it's just Shermer trying to get rid of some of the ridicule that's been following for the last couple of years, because ever since he left Minnesota, he hasn't really had anything that's been, you can say, productive. I mean, he flunked out as a head coach for the Giants. He couldn't do anything and he had a star running back in Saquon Barkley. And so I just think that he's just trying to get back to, just being an OC. I'm pretty sure as he still has thoughts of, head coaching stuff, because sometimes it's not as easy to change jobs when you go from head coach to offensive coordinator or vice versa. In the NFL, every single year, coaching changes and staff just they change repeatedly. So that's what it's my guess as to why we're seeing this Shermer kind of frustration or stallment in what we've seen him do when he was the offensive coordinator for the Vikings in 2017. And he did that with a backup in Case Keenum, mind you. So he was able to take that team all the way to the championship game. So if he can do that with a backup, I can just imagine what he can do with the starting quarterback. So hopefully this is just his transition into the offense, and we keep seeing these changes. And hopefully he doesn't just stick to one groove where defensive coordinators can pick up on, okay, they're just going to keep doing the exact same thing, and then it becomes predictable.
Steve Griffith, there we got it. Am I the only one that holds their breath when I'm going to call him Gorgon from now on? Even though he put Gordon down here to correct it, but I like Gorgon, so we're going to
That's a good one, yeah.
Am I the only one that holds? Am I the only one that holds their breath when Gorgon gets the ball?
Yeah.
That's the thing that's so annoying is like he gets yards, but then he fumbles the ball. Like I understand like fighting for yards, but if you're gonna do that, like 2-arm it, put it under your chin, do something. Like stop flinging the ball around.
He does the same thing. If you notice, almost every single time he's fumbled the ball this season, it's always when he tries to execute a spin move or he tries to do something that he knows he should probably not be doing. And when he does, obviously, when you're turning your body in a certain position, you sometimes lose track of where other people are, or you don't secure the ball as tightly as you are. He should be really just like a Garrett Blount type of guy where he just runs straight, just try to push for yards. He doesn't really need to do this twisting around. Or
he always does that.
Yeah, and that's how he loses the ball, because he twists around. Somebody comes from behind him where he doesn't see, and they hit the ball, and the ball comes out.
Well, and like I understand, wanting to fight for yardage. I mean, you've got Phillip Lindsay right behind you, who's number 3 in the NFL in yards per carry at like 5.5, and he was gone for like 2-3 games. So I get wanting to, and you can't really bench him. We're paying him $8 million a year to play.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you can't bench him, but for the love of Pearl, hold on to the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, especially that fumble when
that was
put the game.
It was right out of the end zone.
It was
at the 1 yard line.
And the fact is, they had benched Tua and put in Mike's man crush, Fitzmagic, and all of a sudden the guy starts driving it down the field after that fumble. And I'm convinced if not for Simmons making that incredible interception, if Miami had scored, I don't see how the momentum shift could have allowed the Broncos to pull that one out at that point. I mean, you cannot make those mistakes, especially that close. Just drop and wait for the next play on the 1 yard line. Just enough.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to quote something that I heard Shannon Sharp say Monday, and that's Miami created a problem that they didn't need. And that to me spoke volumes, because it's exactly true. When Miami made the decision to bench Fitzpatrick for a Tua, a lot of people thought that that was probably going to be a mistake, because Fitzpatrick was playing some of the best football he's played in a good while. Miami was winning. So the fact that you put Tua in, and Tua plays, I wouldn't say great, I would probably say pretty good, because his special teams and his defense gave him the ball in very favorable positions. But when Brian Flores decided to bench Tua and bring in Fitzpatrick, and his explaining for that was because he wanted to try to win the game, you send the wrong message, because what does that tell Fitzpatrick? That, you're only going to put me in the game whenever, crap hits the fan, and you want me to try to be the bail guy. And that's not who Fitzpatrick is. Fitzpatrick's he's not supposed to be the bail guy. And that also ruins the confidence for Tua, because you want to see what Tua can do in crunch time. Can he go out there and, tie the football game? Can he go out there and win the football game? So you put yourself in a predicament where you don't get an answer out of both of those questions, but instead you just create a bigger problem. And that's exactly why I'm kind of glad that Vic Fangio didn't bench Drew Lock and put in Rippon after that first interception, like a lot of people wanted, because if he'd have done that, then we would have actually had that exact same problem that Miami has. So right now, and I'm not saying that Drew Lock is going to, have a great or fantastic game, because he's yet to be proven that. This, like I said earlier, this is not a big win for him. This is a win for Fangio. Drew Lock has to go out there and prove that he can still be the guy, even though he's, still learning and he's still trying to work with whatever he has left in the offensive line and offensive weapons. So as long as the coaching staff can keep, belief in him until the end of the season, until we can get some actual tape on him and say, okay, this is what Drew Lock can do, what he can't do, and what he can improve upon, then, we should be going in the right direction.
Yeah, I kind of wonder like how close was Fangio to pulling Locke out of there after that interception, because that was bad. That was a bad throw. It's like second play of the game.
He
Like,
wasn't even close.
you can't start off any
Yeah,
worse than that.
yeah, he wasn't close. Tim Patrick was totally covered.
And the other part of me wonders, as far as the offensive scheme goes, how much of that was planned for Rippon instead of Locke? And then they were like, no, we have to play Locke. And they just kept the same game plan. That's kind of what I wonder, because that game plan does not fit what they've been doing and what Locke is good at. So I kind of wonder if it was a Rippon game plan, and then they just went, no, we have to put Locke in there. And then guess what? It worked.
Well, I don't think playing Drew had anything to do with, or not playing Drew would have anything to do with him just being able to be healthy, and play in the game. I don't think there was any consideration to benching him or not playing because he had some poor outings. But just going back to our thoughts we've kind of used the term dumbing down the offense. Is it a matter of doing that, or is it a matter of the offense is a little bit different? I mean, they did throw in some. I mean, when we talked about the left side of the line pulling, and we haven't seen that at all this year. And maybe they changed things up, made things different. Maybe it's not a matter of it dumbing down. Maybe it was just different. And it's
I don't know if dumbing it down was not part of the plan. Like, because you could see that he was focused on running the ball and throwing short and medium passes that were given to him. He wasn't trying to force it, which to me says that all through the week they were saying, do not force the ball. So I'm not going to look back on it and not say they dumbed it down for him so that they'd give him the best chance to win. I think that was probably the main reason why. And then they adjusted how the line was going to play with the added runs they were going to throw into it. So I think it was all a secondary of, we have to make it a basic offense for Drew.
Whatever works.
Yeah.
Right.
To have two running backs over 80 yards, one of which scored 2 touchdowns. I mean, Phillip, then another huge play was when he rolled off that 20-yard run.
Yeah.
That was massive.
Yeah.
Bronco Frank, it felt like to me it was more about building confidence. And I think that's part of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Because boy, did he need that confidence after that first throw. Woofda!
Yeah.
Yeah, he sure did. And he was pretty beside himself when he overthrew a wide open Troy Fumagalli, who he could have balleted.
Like 6'8" or something like that. Like, he's huge.
Mm-hmm.
And you overthrow him?
Yeah, and you overthrow him. So if
what Adon calls him at 6'8"? Short.
My brother.
And the one thing that I didn't, I was looking for it the entire game. The one thing that I did notice was that there wasn't really any special teams mistakes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Much better.
McMahon still needs to be fired, but
yeah.
Yay!
I was about to say, that still doesn't exonerate him from everything he's done over the last week. There's still 6 games left. So,
but I think somebody got the memo, and they knew that something had to change with that. And I don't know, maybe they were throwing out punishments or something. My daughter said maybe they were making everyone run around the field like 5 times like our coach does to us. I'm like, they're probably giving out some good punishments.
See, I would love to see, like, in the middle of the game when someone makes a mistake, they just drop down and do push-ups.
Right.
Just
burpees.
Do them now.
Yeah. So, I mean, somebody took, ownership of that, and they cleaned it up, and you could tell that it was definitely a better game, especially compared to the Raiders game.
Yeah, kudos to Sam Martin, because he had some really great punts, and he punted.
Yeah,
he put Miami where they needed to be between the 10 and the 15, and maybe a couple times even further. So That's one thing that we struggle. We thought we were supposed to get when we had signed Marquette King 2 years ago, and unfortunately, we got a different version. And Wadman came in, and Wadman was decent, but he wasn't the best.
He was better than Marquette King.
Yeah.
Lordy.
Yeah,
And like Marquette King came in, we're like, yeah, he's gonna boot the ball. It's gonna be awesome. He was terrible.
Yeah, it went like 30, 35 yards out of bounds.
That's what we get for getting an X-rater.
Yeah, right.
Not the first time, won't be the last.
Okay, so one of the other things that kind of shocked me a little bit was the defense playing so well. I did not expect that. After the first 2-3 games, they were just getting lit up the entire game. And this game, we crushed them.
Mm-hmm.
Malik Reed is already on pace to go past what Von Miller did. Was it last year or the year before?
Last
year.
Last year.
And, again, we're not sitting here saying Malik Reed is like the next Von Miller, but, I mean, that's a good sign that, he's at least looking like he's going to surpass what Von Miller did last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the only part of that defense that I saw was kind of struggling a bit was AJ Bouye. I felt the Miami offense was picking on him because he saw more passes going towards his way, and he was in charge of covering Devontae Parker, who I'll admit is no easy task, and they stayed away from Bryce Callahan. But the fact that when the rushing defensive line can get home, they are terrifying. And for those of you who may not have known that what Tua had said prior going into this game, he said that he thought the NFL was harder than what he had experienced his last couple of games, and Denver just was the gravity that brought him right smack dab back to earth. Because, and mind you, he faced a defense without Shelby Harris and without Von Miller, our two head guys. So had they been in that game, I don't even think they would have gotten that touchdown. It would have just been a field goal at the most. But when they can step up the defense and they can both do their share, defensive line and secondary, they can be amazing. The fact that what we have in Deshaun Williams, he was a great gem to find, and he's doing a great job coming in for Shelby Harris at the moment. Atachu, he hasn't had a great season. He had a better season last year, so hopefully he can come and turn it around. DeMarcus Walker had a pretty good game. I think he had a sack.
Starting to show up.
Yeah, our linebackers played a pretty good game. They kept the running game in check. And, of course, Justin Simmons, who got robbed of an interception at the beginning of that game, played, fantastic. And that's the Justin Simmons that we need to see going forward, because I honestly don't see Denver bringing back Kareem Jackson next season, because he's going to be like 33. And if you compare the both of them, Justin Simmons has done more for this team as Jackson, unless he takes some kind of a deal to stay with the team. But that's just my personal opinion.
Mike, we do have some comments about.
I was going to pull this one up. Well, his first one was, sorry, guys, I'm late. I grabbed a beer. That's okay. You can have that.
It's a good reason to be late.
Richie says, I disagree. The defense has played very well in the last few games at first. The issue is the offense was unable to sustain drives. We did that this past game. True. I will digress on that one.
Can you pull Jess up there too?
The one
because I agree with both of those comments.
This one?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. The only reason we have been in games is because of the defense. Hard for the defense to stay strong when the offense can't put long, successful drives together.
I agree totally. I mean, you cannot. I mean, the defense peters out at some point when the offense is doing 3 and outs, they're doing turnovers, things like that. Just looking at some of the statistics in preparation for the show today, after 6 sacks the other day, we have 28 sacks. We're 7th in the NFL. The Broncos defense is second best in red zone defense in the entire NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And when a team is in the red zone, they don't even score 49% of the time. That's a touchdown, I should say. Mm-hmm. That's an unbelievable stat. And, the fact is they have kept us. And if the offense can get things going, I mean, the defense there's no reason to think that they're not going to improve. I mean, some of these, we've been without Shelby Harris, and he's going to be out again. I mean, in Atachu, he started the season off strongly, got hurt, and he hasn't done really much. But what if he catches fire? I mean,
Right.
they're these the defensive backs, if they start being more consistent. Where's Michael O? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and let me amend what I said. So
Okay.
the defense hasn't played like that in the last 3 games. Like that was impressive.
Yeah.
Like they've played well, and I think the defense has played well enough for us to stay in games. The offense has just let us down. But the defense hasn't played like that in the last 3 games. That was pretty big.
I think also when everybody is playing good on both sides of the ball, it keeps the other guys fired up. It makes you want to play harder and try harder, and you're not just sending a bunch of guys out there to play catch up or to hold you. You're sending guys out there to help you win a game instead of just coming from behind. So I mean, it has a lot to do with confidence and with the whole team playing well all together. And that's what we saw. We saw the whole team like stepping up each side.
Yeah.
And it makes for a happy locker room. We've heard
Yeah.
Happy
stories-
wife, happy life.
We've heard stories of the defense being a little perturbed to say the least, about the offense not doing their role. So
Yeah.
Well, and Jess coming back with back to offense, more pistol formation and pulling guard and tackle for Lindsey and Gordon. Also send Hamler in motion. And I think obviously the addition of the running game back to where it should have been is the reason why the defense played so well, because they weren't on the field for 13 minutes and a quarter.
Right.
with Hamler, when he was drafted, I just had visions in my head of him just screaming down the field in these long bombs to him, and we haven't even seen that. I would love for them to just start off a game where they just send KJ racing straight down the field and Drew just unloading.
But kind of like the last drive or the last play of the last game. Don't aim it. Don't try to just throw it in the area and it'll be complete. But if he tries to complete the long pass, that's when we miss.
Was that the longest reception of the entire season?
I don't know. It has to be for him.
For Patrick, I doubt it.
No, I meant for
I think it was 61 yards is what it was.
Mm-hmm. It was a 61-yard catch and run.
I was hoping he was going to score.
Yeah, I know.
I was screaming.
They panned over to Drew's face, like when it was mid-flight, and his face. I was like, "What's happening? What?" And his face was just like, "Oh my god!" Yeah, it was crazy.
It probably just clicked in his head, like, "Okay, don't aim."
Right.
and then I'll complete the pass. Oh, let's see who else is mad at me in the comments.
Tim's thinking padding his stats, and it worked.
You need to get that Richie comment right there.
This one?
Yeah.
Of course you can play like that when you actually get to rest, Mundungus. Listen here, Richie. I'm going to have you stay on the field for 12 minutes of a 15-minute stretch to see how you do. Again, I get that the offense was a reason why the defense wasn't playing well, but even when they were playing well, they weren't playing like that. So
Richie, you're right. Mike gets tired sitting on a couch for 15 minutes. So
I'm tired right now, and I just was talking for 10 seconds. That's all it takes.
What you don't want to do is you don't want to lose the defense, because when you lose the defense, then you pretty much lost the game. And to give you an example, look what happened yesterday between the Cowboys and the football team.
Not a lot for the Cowboys.
All the Cowboys had to do was punt the ball away and let their defense do their job. But instead, they decided to get funny but they pull the dumbest trick move on fourth down and try to run the ball, and they get stopped. And and now you're like, okay, well, sorry, that didn't work. So now the defense has to go out there in their own, I think it was like their own 20. And Antonio Gibson just runs right through them like they weren't even there. So that's demoralizing already. Then Andy Dalton goes out on the next drive and gets pick six, literally out of midair. So when you start losing the defense, then, and you get that friction between the defense and the offense, and the head coach can't be the one to come in and say, hey, get your heads out of your behinds. We got to get back into this game. then that creates not just a problem in the locker room, but a problem in general overall. So thankfully, yeah, the defensive guys kind of chomp at the bits at the offense, but that's because they have to. They have to say, hey, we're doing our part. You guys need to do your part. We're getting killed out there. We can't go out there for, like Rich said, 12 out of 15 minutes out of every quarter, and you can't expect us to, be great every single time.
I just had a message pop up on my phone. Do you want to show this comment? Yeah. It's I think they'll show it, but it was Richie commenting back saying, "I'm bigger than you. Get in my belly." You may be taller, sir. Now that just threw me off. Now I'm thinking about Dr. Evil.
Richie's clean shaven now too, so
I know.
The beard is gone.
There,
He gave it to you, Glenn.
yeah. I've got a ways to go.
When Locke aims the ball, when he throws, you get the pass where Drew overthrows a 6'5" tight end who's wide open. Well, and we talked about that. We're not sitting here saying that Drew Lock had a spectacular game. Like, he was still showing the same mistakes. It's just that he wasn't being held to the same level of responsibility that he had been in other games. So you're still going to get the overthrows. Hopefully he progresses. But, for the time being, he's still going to have some overthrows and work on footwork and things like that. But, we're at least not wanting to burn everything down now because we at least won a game. You can kind of see with the talent around Drew Lock what we have. Like, we have a lot. We have a lot of talent on this team that we don't need an all-star quarterback to win with.
Yeah.
Think about it. If Adon was so angry, he almost took his jersey off and then immediately folded it. Not spiking.
That says a lot.
A gentle fold.
That says a lot.
That says it all.
Especially when it's 5 minutes into the start of the game. So, but we just have to remember that so far the Broncos have beaten 3 of the 4 AFC teams. And that says a lot, with probably their best team still to come in Buffalo, I would say. Obviously, the Jets, beating the Jets at this point is not really so much of a like a proud.
Yeah, that's not really
everybody.
A plaque, like
trophy win.
You don't want to say that.
Yeah, so that
only counts if you're Mundungus trying to tout Brett Rippon. But that's cool.
But we have an advantage because we beat the Jets with a backup quarterback. Everybody else that's beaten the Jets has beaten them with their starter. So that's, to me, gives Broncos a bit more ledge on that victory. They took down Cam Newton and the supposedly red hot New England Patriots, and you just saw what they did to Miami. So if this defense can stay healthy and they can go into that game against Buffalo, I think that they can rattle Josh Allen and give him a run for his money. And if Drew Lock can, stay interception free, they can easily win that game.
Let's do one more question that we kind of already talked about, and then we'll go into the game, unlike last week where we were screaming at each other for 40 minutes. Didn't get to the next game. Richie coming back in. Well, let's say the talent looks great around Drew. The line plays better, but Locke continues to throw 2 or 3 balls off his back foot and messes up. What do we do in 21? Again, I think that if Locke doesn't progress or regresses, then we probably okay. So if he stays the same and doesn't progress, I think we get a quarterback, but we don't reach for a quarterback. Like, we get one if he falls to us. If he continues to get worse, or if he gets worse, you can't think they're going to go with a veteran. I mean, as much as I would want them to let him sit back and learn, at the same time, you got to think they're going to want to try to draft somebody, depending on where we are in the draft, as far as the pick goes. But I think the only way that they get a quarterback on purpose is if Drew Lock does not progress, he gets worse. Even if he stays the same and we continue to win games, you can get by for a year or two just on that alone.
Well, me personally, I think that even if Drew Lock goes and messes up these last remaining games, personally, as long as John Elway has a job, so does Drew Lock. And until Drew Lock reaches a level with John Elway where even Elway says, hey, look, I tried, but this isn't going to work, and we're going to have to cut ties and replace you. I honestly don't see them replacing Drew Lock next year. I see them bringing somebody else in, either through the draft or through free agency, to try to kind of light a fire underneath Drew Lock and say, hey, look, if you don't ship up by, let's say, mid-season 2021, then we're gonna have to explore other options, bring in the backup or the second quarterback or what have you. So I personally wouldn't mind it, because unfortunately Drew Lock falls under the same issues with the head coach and basically the entire team, and that's just that he doesn't have all of his weapons. He doesn't have Cortland Sutton. He has Noah Fant, but Noah Fant is struggling, and he doesn't have Albert O. Albert O's out for the season, so he has a rookie Jerry Jeudy, a rookie KJ Hamler, and Tim Patrick, who's done a fantastic job emerging as a wide receiver. But even with that said, that can't be really so much enough. And Drew Lock doesn't have as much experience under his belt yet to say, hey, look, at least we tried with this guy. So everything is still a learning process. And Denver is one of the youngest offensive football teams in the league. So obviously we didn't have the offensive season we wanted, but hopefully it can get better these last few games and for next year.
We also didn't have our starting right tackle. So the start of the season was a disaster just from the line standpoint. One thing that we should probably consider too, and I agree with Max. I think that Locke is definitely our guy next year, and I'm a huge fan. I mean, I don't think it's any surprise. So I think we also need to take into account some of the salary cap and the fact that the salary cap is going to be dropping. That our quarterback responsibilities in terms of pay is very, very low. And I can't see them bringing in some sort of a veteran. We've looked at the list, and it's just not something that's going to blow the doors off. We've got other guys to sign. We have to bring Bowles back. We have to look at Simmons and see what can be done there. We've got other players, and I think if you have a quarterback that has talent and is being paid on the lower end, then you've got to stick with it, especially when the cap is going low.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not to mention, we're still on the hook this year for Joe Flacco, who's not even a Bronco. So if it's one thing that Denver has been notoriously known for these last couple of years, it's overpaying quarterbacks from Keenum to Flacco.
Burn that cup.
Yeah.
Melt it.
Yeah, this cup has Flacco, Harris, Sanders. It's
a has-been.
Yeah, it is.
So one more, and then we'll get into the next game because Jess is taking over my shtick. I would trade James for a bag of balls.
Oh, we can't. Unfortunately, we'd love to.
No, the dead money hit would be way too high.
Way too
I guess
big.
my question is, what kind of balls? Because he
Bowling?
Doesn't matter.
Bowling balls.
He doesn't have either.
Meatballs.
Okay, so let's go into the Saints game because we got a little bit of a different look because we don't have Drew Brees. We've got Taysom Hill.
Just reading Chris's comment.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Where?
Last one.
Oh,
The last one.
whatever's in the cup must be flat by now.
Brilliant, sir.
All right. So what? We kind of saw what Taysom Hill could do in the last game, and Jess says it. We better not lose to a gadget quarterback. I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah.
And I mean, he is like the ultimate gadget quarterback. Like he's a mix of a gunslinger with he's kind of like a big. He's like a built Tyreek Hill. Like he can kind of do everything.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess that's a good
Or a
thing.
slower Tyreek Hill.
Slower.
Both. I don't know.
But it's a good thing for them, but also at the same time, it's we're gonna bank off the inexperience that he has, and Fangio is the guy to do it. I mean, you saw what he did to Tua, and hopefully they can do the same thing. It's just the Saints defense right now is ranked third in total yards, something like that. So I don't know.
Yeah, this
Or you can
game's
make
going
it
to
look.
depend on basically what the defense can do against Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas and even Emmanuel Sanders at that.
Oh, I
Because
forgot about that.
yeah, because those are pretty much where Taysom Hill was throwing to last week in their win against Atlanta. Not to mention that unlike Drew Brees, Taysom Hill can run with the freaking ball. So
Well, he had 10 rushes last week.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
they didn't really need to run him though. That's the thing. Like
no, but I'm saying in terms of escapement. So if he can, even if the Broncos, because the Saints' offensive line is pretty good, but hopefully with the defensive line can contain if he decides to break out, because obviously we have to play Patrick Mahomes twice a year, and the one thing he's been pretty good at doing since he came into the league is every time the pocket collapses, he evades and he runs and he either throws it or he runs for yards. So hopefully containment is a big priority here. I hope AJ Bouye can step up if it's on him to cover Michael Thomas. I don't really see their tight ends being a big problem. Denver did a pretty good job against the last couple of tight ends, even against Gronk. So, but basically it'll come down to him. The Saints are pretty beat up on defense. They didn't have LaShawn, what is it, Lattimore last week. So if Drew Lock can not throw interceptions and the running game can keep being the running game that we saw, and the Saints just playing at Mile High is already an automatic advantage for Denver.
Bronco Frank saying, I feel like our defense is better against mobile QBs. Blitz package wise, I don't know if that's the case. I think with healthy corners, Bryce Callahan, he's questionable, but he had a full practice, so I think he's okay. But you kind of wonder if AJ Bouye is still dealing with something, because he didn't look right in that last game. Like
No.
that's not the AJ Bouye we've been used to watching.
No. I think he's still struggling with whatever's wrong with him. I don't even know.
Yeah, if he would have looked back on that touchdown he gave up, he could have easily batted that ball away. But unfortunately, he didn't. I don't know where his head was. He didn't even look back, so he didn't know where the ball was, and the wide receiver caught the ball before he could make a play.
Yeah.
Just mentioning the questionable, I feel like that's overblown a lot, just because probable is no longer an option. So if someone has a paper cut, they're going to be listed as questionable if they're on the injury report.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it has to do with who's, how they're practicing. And, one of the nice things is that we get a chance to see that. So like you said, Callahan, full practice today. Duke Dawson, full practice today. Josie Jewell, full. It looks like Judy is limited today, but I expect him to play. We definitely need him.
Yeah. Well, and it also looks like Dotson and Glasgow are both they were limited, so we'll see if they go as well. But Rich brought up another point saying that Taysom Hill hasn't gotten hit a lot, as a quarterback, I agree, but he's been coming in all season and last season, being split out wide, being a receiver, being a running back. So, I mean, he gets hit, just not as a quarterback. So, you kind of wonder if he does get pressure from Chubb on one side and Reed on the other, is he going to be flailing the ball around? Is there going to be a higher chance of fumbles from Taysom, or, is it going to be we're chasing him everywhere?
I think Sean Payton scares me the most, because Sean Payton is a really smart offensive guy, and I'm surprised he didn't run any of that wildcat or two quarterback plays that he runs with Drew and Taysom Hill. So we might see some of that trickery this Sunday. But if like you said, if they can contain Taysom Hill and force him to throw, because from what we saw last Sunday, Taysom Hill's deep throw isn't that good. He underthrew a ball that, if Emmanuel Sanders doesn't come back for it, literally falls like 5 yards behind him. So if they can do that, at least, force him to throw the ball away or just get 3 and outs, then just basically throw Taysom Hill off balance.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's going to come down to if Taysom Hill is accurate throwing on the run, because it seems like he's one of those guys that's going to want to run no matter what.
Right.
So if we can blitz and get him outside the pocket, is he accurate or is he not? If he's not, no problem. I think we win the game. If he is, we could be in for a long game.
But he's not going to want to get hit standing still either. Or being.
Yeah.
He's going to want to move around quite a bit, and this defense played very, very well against the other major mobile quarterback in the NFL, Cam Newton. So I think
Bronco
Patrick
Frank
Mahomes.
Bronco Frank is saying Mark Barron's back to help too. I mean, I hope that Mark Barron is at least some of what we think he's going to be, as long as he's faster than Josie Jewell. Because again, good night. That guy is slow. Like, I'm fat, so I'm supposed to be slow.
Honey bear.
He's not. Like, speed it up, man.
I don't think Barron's playing this week. Vic made it sound like he wasn't going to be, that he'd be very surprised if he were in there, but we'll see.
Let's see. I keep having. So Landon came in earlier. He wants to know who we think is going to do the best this coming game. He also was asking who we thought played the best in the last game. And honestly, I'm going to go with Garrett Bowles in the last game. Like, he was killing it. The reason why we were able to run the ball like that is because of Garrett Bowles. Because, like, even Reisner wasn't pulling as much as Bowles was. The reason we were able to get all that on the run game was because of Garrett Bowles.
Right. And to give Garrett Bowles something new like that to do, and he did it so well, is it's surprisingly refreshing to see him do well like that without, holds and calls. And
there was
he did a good job.
There was a video of Bowles blocking 2 guys at once. He had one hand on each guy and was just going to town. It's like, where's that guy been?
He's turning out to be a beast. And what did it take for him to be this? It took patience and time for him
3 years of football
to become this.
And the threat of losing a lot of money.
Right.
And a lot of crap from us.
I mean,
yeah. And to me, I think that Justin Simmons gets the game ball because he had that game-winning interception. And like I said earlier at the beginning of this podcast, he should have had that interception that was unfortunately taken away from an AJ Bouye flag. But if this Justin Simmons can keep showing up these next couple of games, I honestly think that Denver will give him the contract that he so much desires instead of letting him walk and, Denver trying to gamble finding a good safety in the draft or free agency. But to piggyback off of what you guys were saying, Garrett Bowles is a close second. Like Bronco Frank just said, Mike Munchak has done a fantastic job in turning that guy's career around, and hopefully he can do the same thing with Cushenberry, Glasgow, and Reisner. Reisner has been having a bit of a back year. Glasgow hasn't been as stout as we thought he was going to be when he was acquired, and Cushenberry, he's a rookie. DeMar Dotson has played some really good football at right tackle, and hopefully he can come. Oh, I wouldn't mind having him as a backup next year when Jawan James comes back.
Yeah, but do you really want the bald ball as wonder back in there?
I mean, you're paying him a lot of money, so unless he decides to opt out and we're still in a pandemic by then.
Because I mean, like, he's one of those guys that would go on IR because of a paper cut.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, he'd be listed as questionable. Just remember that.
Yeah, he's probably questionable right now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Christy, who do you think? Best last week, best this week.
I don't know. I
She wants to say Drew Lock's so bad right now.
No, I don't think I don't. I want to say I'm gonna give it to Fangio because I think he's the game before it was questionable for me that he even had the team. Like he didn't have a connection with anything, and this last week we saw him he pulled it together. And I think the reason that they played better was because he took the reins and he was like, okay, we have to do this. And I'm going to give it to Fangio.
Mhm.
And I think
he did a lot better.
I think you got to have an honorable mention for Malik Reed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And
Well, I don't-
Fangio has adapted
He
to
adopted Reed.
to
He
overcome
adopted that
his
Donatello.
well, that was going to be my point, that he adapted to being able to read the defense from the sideline, because that's what he struggled with last year. He was always so used to seeing his eyes from the booth. And Ed Donatel, that's basically what he does. He knows all of Vic Fangio's covers and schemes. So the fact that he was able to do that while Ed Donatel is not with the team it was amazing. It was fantastic. And it shows that Fangio is learning as a coach. And anybody that thought that Fangio's defense was taking a hit or not working out was just proven wrong that on Sunday.
All right, so I mean, we canceled practice today because there was. Did you say it was Spencer, or was it not?
Yeah.
Spencer is the one who came down with it, and then 2 staff members. Don't know if that's coaches or if that's staff. I honestly don't think that it's going to matter that much as far as like scheme wise and play wise. They probably already had that well in place, and if they go with the same play calling that they had in the last game, I don't think it's going to matter much. So I don't necessarily know if that's going to have an effect. But what do you guys think? Who do you think is going to win, and what do you think the score is going to be?
Well, I honestly didn't like the fact that the Broncos had to skip practice today, because the Broncos could have needed that extra. Hopefully they can make up for it tomorrow. I don't know if they're actually going to practice tomorrow, but if they can kind of get a practice in before the game and try to get an idea of what it is that's coming to Denver, I honestly can see Denver win this game. If we can get the same defense from last week and the same offense from last week, and without the interception and without the Gordon fumble, then the Broncos can easily win this. But I think it's going to be a close game because the Saints are a really good football team, and the Broncos are starting to show that we're turning the corner. And if I had to guess the score, I'd probably say Denver 27-24.
I'm debating whether I should say, like the last time, I should say that we were going to lose, because every other time I said we're going to win, and I don't know. It's going to be a close game. The game's going to be, within a few points. I'm going to go with the Broncos this time.
Christy, I was in the same boat. I picked against Denver the last week, the first time all season. And I was thinking, maybe I'll just take the approach of picking the Saints and see what happens. But I don't think that really matters. But I'm going to go. Saints are on a 7-game winning streak. They're +5 in the turnover. They don't give up a ton of yards. But I just believe that something is going to happen this week that's going to propel the Broncos. I think 24-20 Denver.
This one's hard because, like I was telling you guys beforehand, I think Denver probably goes 8-8, 7-9, something like that. So I think there's 2-3 more games that they might lose. The Chiefs, I think, is one of those.
Yeah.
And then it's a debate between. I think the Bills could potentially beat them, and then there's a debate between whether I think the Raiders are going to beat us again or the Saints are going to beat us. And I think that with so many questions on how we're actually going to look, are we going to look like last game or are we going to look like the game before that? I think I'm going to have to pick the Saints this week, but I think it's going to be like a 24-21. Like, it's going to be close. Just because I don't know what offense is going to show up. AFC West. Glenn, you're winning. You're up by 2 games, 22-11. 6'10" and Christy are at 20-13, and I did horrible last week, and I'm 16-17.
Good.
Yeah,
Which is
that's
another
what
reason you picked.
That's what I get for picking the Jets.
Another reason he picked the Saints too, I think.
Okay, so Chargers and Bills.
Chargers and Bills. I'm gonna say the Bills. The Chargers. They almost lost that game last week against the Jets. There's no way that the Jets should have come back like that. So that just pretty much tells you where the Chargers defense is at this point, and that more than likely Anthony Lynn is on his way out the door in Los Angeles. And unless Buffalo just they play in like really crappy weather, which seems to be their only Achilles heel these last couple of weeks for them, I say Bills.
I'm going to go with the Bills, too.
Bills for me.
Yeah, I'm going to go Bills, too. Raiders, Falcons. I'm not even going to ask, Christy. I already know what you
No, I want to hear the explanation.
Max, who'd you go with?
Ladies first.
Oh, geez. You can't. This is going to have to be erased from everybody's memory, but I think the Raiders are going to win.
Oh.
Like, where's my little light? I never said that.
Oh, this whole thing's being recorded, so
Men in
it's
Black.
on record now.
But that's what I think the Raiders are going to do it.
Yeah, the Saints they rattled Matt Ryan pretty good last week. They took out Julio Jones with a hamstring injury, and that Falcons defense unfortunately is not as good as Denver made them look out to be before they went on bye. So even with Julio Jones out there, I don't see the Falcons going toe to toe with the kind of firepower that Las Vegas has. So I'm going to say Raiders.
Pains me to say it, but I wish the Broncos Falcons team was gonna light the world on fire, but I think the Raiders definitely.
See, I'm kind of shocked because I thought that we were all going to pick the same team. I'm going with the Falcons. I mean, I think the Raiders are one of those teams and coached by a coach that would overlook a team that they think they're going to beat pretty easy. And I think that the Raiders are going to overlook the Falcons. I think the Falcons are going to play well enough to beat a Raiders team that's surprised that they can play that well. So I'm going to go with the Falcons.
Okay.
And if anyone hasn't picked their game yet, we're going to pop some fan predictions. So
yeah, and if you want to be right, don't pick who I pick. Chiefs and Bucks.
Oh man, this is going to be a great football game.
Mm-hmm.
This is probably the only last game, the hard game the Bucks have, because after this one, their schedule is pretty easy. They play the Falcons twice, the Eagles, and I forget which the Jets, I think, or one of those crappy teams. But for this one, it's pretty much Mahomes and Brady. I don't think we're going to get that shootout from the very first time that they met 2 years ago. But I think this is going to be a close game. But I think the Chiefs are going to beat the Bucks.
Yeah, I'm going with the Chiefs.
Despite Brady's arm being fresh from not shaking hands, I'm going to go with the Chiefs.
You're going with who?
The Chiefs.
Okay.
I guarantee he shakes Mahomes' hand this time.
Yeah, he is.
Well,
He's going to shake Mahomes' hand.
This is the debate I'm having because like Tom Brady doesn't lose 2 times in a row. Like he doesn't do that. I think that the Bucks have more talent than the Chiefs do. The problem is, I think Brady's starting to show his 87-year-old age, and is like his arm's just not there.
No.
So I want to say Bucks, but I think I have to go Chiefs. I don't think that Brady can do it anymore.
Yeah, that top Bulls defense is starting to crumble.
Yeah.
Okay, Bronco Frank 27-20 Broncos. Richie Rich 21-17 Broncos.
Yay.
And then Bills, Falcons.
Ooh.
Hey, you're all picking who I picked. You're going to lose. Watch out. Let's see.
I think they're thinking you're going to have a breakout week.
Ooh.
It'll happen once, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you tell them.
For the record, that's not me this time. My brother took his dog. So
Bills, Bucks, Raiders. Bronco Frank goes with Bucks. See, that's what I was saying. He seems to play better after a loss. He doesn't usually lose twice in a row. but he doesn't have Belichick either. So
Yeah.
Broncos, Bills, Falcons, Bucks. All right, that is going to do it. We want to thank everybody for being in. We had Richie Rich, we had Jess C13, we had Bronco Frank 7, Mile High Beauty, Landon, we had James Campbell, Stu McPeak, Steve Griffith, we had Chaotic 1200 from Twitch. Whoop, whoop. I think I got everybody, didn't I? Did I miss somebody?
Chris Hernandez.
Jess Contreras 14, Jerry
24
Holland,
years in the Air Force.
Chris Hernandez,
Yep.
Air Force. I guess it counts.
You might want to quantify that.
Calm down, Boy Scout.
I was Army. He was Air Force. Air Force is, I guess it counts. All right. Well, we want to thank everybody. Ha ha ha. See? Ha ha ha. It's called. All right. We want to thank everybody again for coming in. Again, you can catch us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch. On YouTube, make sure you smash those thumbs up. Subscribe, turn on notifications so you catch every time we go live or post a video. Twitter at MHRT Podcast. Leave us any questions, concerns, predictions, whatever you want. Facebook, like and follow us on Facebook. And Twitch, I think you just got to watch. I don't think there's much. I don't even know if you can comment. But I can log in and see. So that's good. All right. Well, we again want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. I know it was yesterday, but I hope you had lots of food and you wore loose pants. And looking forward to another Broncos win this weekend.
Yay.
Go Broncos.
Go Broncos.
Bye, everybody.